We do have a shout out to Yanni's Design for making our shirts. Look at them. Look at them. Look how awesome they look. Yes,
Love with nature.
we just have to say thank you to her. It's a family-owned business. Yanni's Design, thank you so much. She's located in Florida, so if you want your shirts done, hey, look at that gray shirt. Look how pretty that looks. It looks so pretty. I love it.
I'm in love with my shirt. And check out.
Oh, your mug made an appearance. Look at that.
Yo, the merch is on point.
But before we continue to our episode on Women's Equality Day, I did want to mention the pipeline 3, what is happening. If completed, it's gonna be about what is the number? How many barrels? 76,000 barrels of oil per day from Canada, Alberta, all the way to Wisconsin, Superior Lake, which is one of the largest freshwater.
580,000 barrels.
Look at that. Largest freshwater lake. So they're basically doing this. They claim it was a replacement, but it's not because it's not going on its original path, and it's gonna go through untouched lands, waters, and wild habitat. So meaning they're destroying more land, and we have water protectors out there who are risking their lives right now to protect the lands. And I just wanted to mention that just in case you didn't know what was happening. We gotta protect our waters, you know.
The main reason that they're so concerned with that oil, they use the pretext of it being a resource and of being for a real reason, and it's only for money.
No, of course, that's the only.
Whoever has oil has money. They don't care because they're not thinking of who has to pay for the consequences of
Exactly. Just wanted to let you guys know we need to stop line 3.
Thank you. Yeah. And also thank you because sometimes I am so caught up in my brain and in life and in other causes that I desconecto, and it's really nice because Chubi mentions new things to me. Hey, did you hear about this? And if it's something that is of interest to me, which it usually is, I look further into it. So thank you, Chubi.
You're welcome. It's just that there's certain things
they
that
told me about this when we logged on, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah, no, it's ongoing, and if they're not being treated nicely, it's like, I don't know. But yeah, look more into it, if you want to know more about it.
An episode about it soon.
Of course. Brian says he loves the shirts. Thank you. Oh, they're so soft. We only have one of each, which is what I love. You guys know, like, everybody who orders will get an individualized shirt.
Like you'll legit be the only one who has it.
Literally, yes. So that's the cool part about it. Just like our individualized mugs, they will all have the same logo, but they will all look different, and that's what I like about it. So hello everyone, my name is Chubi.
And I'm Vanessa, and welcome to
No Filters, No Fears podcast. We are on episode 62. 62.
How did that happen?
Blink of an eye,
Legit.
It's elephant 4. August 26th is Women's Equality Day. Women's Equality Day commemorates the passage of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, granting the right to vote to women. The amendment was first introduced in 1878. In 1971, the U.S. Congress designated August 26th as Women's Equality Day. But did you know that this was only granted to Caucasian women? But most people don't know that because there is not taught in schools, so we all assume that everybody got equal rights at the same time, and that is not the case. Around 1924, Native American women got the rights to vote. In 1952, Asian women obviously got the rights to vote. 1965, African American. 1975, non-English speakers.
And could you please state the date again for African American?
1965.
And it was a lie, because we all know that walk in Selma, it was a lie because African Americans were still not allowed. They had to jump through damn hoops and they still could not really vote.
This all started with the suffragist organization that was established in 1869, with two organizations that were formed by Susan B. Anthony, which we all know, and Elizabeth Stanton. And the other group was by Lucy Stone and Frances Harper. Those were the two suffragists that started the movement to women's equality. So that was the beginning of a long way to go, which we're still fighting for this day.
It's really funny because it's really not an insane amount of things changed. We can't, we'd be remiss if we don't recognize the changes that there have been. Great, wonderful, keep it coming. But we would be blind or unrealistic if we don't recognize where there has not been change, where comfortability or fear impedes us making complete change, right? Look at that alone, the voting alone.
Yeah.
And yes, we're allowed to vote, only applied to Caucasian women. Little by little, we've made our progress, but we do have to always recognize what has yet to be changed, because if not, it gets lost in all the caca. I don't know what as they say.
Yeah, for example, like Native women in 1924, not every single Native woman were still allowed to vote, not until 1962. So even if you were a Native woman, even then, you were still not allowed to vote, depending on, whatever the case was, whatever the rules were at the time. So there was still segregation in between each group. So it just became even harder for any actual equality, any actual change.
I want before we get into what we're doing with the peoples, with the ladies, I wanted to ask you, when you hear women's equality, and I'm not talking about whatever is existing, I'm talking about in your mind, your definition, idealistically or like altruistically speaking, what do you think of when you think women's equality? What does that look like?
Just everything. Like women are able to do everything and all. It surpassed the limit. They could do anything. So to me, is a woman that's allowed to be themselves and do anything, accomplish everything, and just do what they want with no matter their skin color, their age, just anything. So to me, it's just an actual like freedom for like that's what I equated to do anything, and we don't even have that. So
we know that it's equality versus equity.
yeah,
There are some places where equity applies more than equality, I feel, and other places where equality outweighs the need for equity. Equality for things like voting, for things like getting paid as much as your male counterparts, right?
right.
Equity meaning that the opportunities are available just as
You're
much,
right.
right? And the fact is that the majority of the world does look at gender. Not only do they look at gender, they are taught that there are significant differences that will affect how a particular gender is able to, for lack of a better word, perform in a job, right? I've heard the uneducated, misogynistic concept that, like, for example, that a woman can never be president because they're too emotional.
Oh yeah.
Right? And what's going to happen to the world when a woman's on her period? Well, let me tell you, our presidents or our government are in a perpetual, like, period because están cagando la left and right. Women are seen as being purely emotional beings. We've taken that away from men, and now men are trying to get that back. It's so interesting to see that shift, because it's the same that was oppressing the other gender, right? So now demanding, let us cry, which, yes, you're absolutely right. But then also stand up for, right, the women who want to be strong, who deserve a place at the table, because women have been kicking ass behind the scenes for a long time and other people taking credit, which is the case for, most marginalized groups. And unfortunately,
Right.
women tend to fall under that kind of category. Gender weighs into other things, race, caste, and how we're perceived and prejudiced against.
The fact that they use the way that a woman is as an insult. I mean, it's not an insult. It is. We are most women are nurtured, but not sensitive and like, oh my God, you're so sensitive. No, like, they're caring. They want to see a change. They think in a larger spectrum rather than the self.
More and more people are beginning to agree and recognize that about women. I think it's becoming more accepted that emotions and having them are an asset, right? Being able to, for example, if you held up a stay-at-home mom's resume as a mom, okay, to an office manager,
Oh, they got nothing on it.
you'd be difficult, you'd be hard up to find differences,
Right.
okay? A stay-at-home mom has to manage a whole mess of stuff while still adulting in the world,
Right.
raising children. It's a lot. So I think people are beginning to recognize that there's still plenty of pushback, obviously, but I think those things are beginning to come around, which is nice to see. We can't get comfortable or complacent because it'll just go back to the same shit if you let it.
To me, I find it baffling that the male species or the other opposite sex or whatever is they think they're superior to any other just because why? And obviously it's deal with society and over the years and holding them in a fucking pedestal. But they don't realize that they need women equally as they do men. Trust me.
Where'd you come from, sir?
Right?
I mean, to me, there's nothing sexier, and I don't even mean it in like a sexual way, but it's attractive. It's like, yeah, when a guy is very aware, accepting of the women in their life and are appreciative of strong women,
Right.
right? And uplift them versus when you hear, and it happens not just with cis men, it happens with cisgendered women, and it happens even within the non-binary community of the polar opposites to have certain preconceived notions and internalized misogyny that we don't even recognize of these concepts of what makes someone female or not.
Right.
What makes them strong, what makes them maternal, right? And the moment that you deviate from that, there's like something wrong with you, right? We've had an episode of not wanting to have kids. You're somehow less of a woman because you don't want to have, shut the fuck up, no.
Totally not the case.
What happens with menopause?
Oh, right.
It's taboo. Nobody talks about menopause. Culturally, right? It's a big taboo that nobody talks about. You're losing a part of your femininity. You can't have kids anymore. And it becomes a very real thing for women.
Right. They're internalizing it now. They're overthinking about it now. At first when you didn't think it was anything wrong, now because society thinks so, now you're starting to feel it. Yeah.
I mean, how many things are women shamed for?
Oh, countless. The book just
From the moment it starts with getting your period, having your period, like that is a thing, and it's gross, and don't talk about it, or shush. So when the first time you get it, you don't know whether to be embarrassed or proud. And if you're too proud, then people think you're weird. It's a lot of stigma to do this.
right. And it's like, how the hell are you gonna handle that when you yourself are a kid at the time? It's a young adult, depending on the person. But it's hard.
Yeah. And then and then you get pregnant. If you get pregnant, okay? Then there's shit around that you have to look a certain way, because if you let yourself become fat or whatever because of the husband, because of what it looks like, or at 8 months, if you want to wear heels and it doesn't bother you, that's a one thing. But if it's like you're doing it because you feel you have to look a certain way, these are certain pressures that are very real. You still have to show up and do the thing to prove. That's a lot.
Right, and obviously, as you already know, starting from the what we only know, 1940s, 30s, 20s, all the way into now, it just keeps getting worse. Just like our today. If you are female presenting, you have to look a certain way. But you are this or you're that. Or like for me, people are like, oh, you don't wear any makeup. Yes, and so what? I don't have to. For who? Says who? If you like it, great. And if you don't have to. And if you're doing it because society tells you to, then it's wrong. You have to live your truth and your authentic self. And I know it's hard and it's easier said because remember what we always say, safety first. But come on, like society thinks that they hold a place and they are the dictators of everything, which they are. In technicality, they are. As a collective, society has to say in all the freaking things that is out there. But if there's two people like you and I and go out there, like all these protests and all these things to change the world for a better place, why not?
Yeah.
Just like the suffragettes did to change. Now we could vote. So little things like that. I know we always say it in every episode. You're right.
Right.
The suffragettes, remember, we always mention it. I never realized I do.
But what does that say in and of itself? When things get repeated in almost every episode, it's not just because we're on some soapbox about it. It's because it was that massively impactful. It's a historical happening for a reason, right? And I do want to say this because lately I've been having this argument with people. Not argument, discussion. Discussion. When someone says that something is historical happening and that it was important, there's no need to jump on and diminish the darker aspect of that historical thing, right? We know racism, well, it still is a thing, but we know slavery happened. We know all of these things happened, right? And that it was shit. It still is shit. But history is history. It's happening. Its occurrence is the catalyst for everything else that happens thereafter.
Exactly. Yeah.
You cannot forget those things that happened. You cannot forget the good about it. You cannot forget the bad about it. You can't. Because all of it is part of what creates the change, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The moment we only keep the parts that we like or that we're correct is the moment that we're making the same mistake as those that oppressed, as those that were prejudiced. We can't fall into that same trap.
And that's why I feel that history, us reading it and seeing how it went and whatever, I feel like bringing it up every time, like it gives us, hope. They did it, we could do it too. Be better, we could do better, and I feel like bringing up history like that over and over again and not letting people forget where we come from, why we are here today in any aspect of, life. It's because of that.
I hear people say things like, they've talked about it so much, it's so overrated, it's so outside. I'm like, clearly it's still happening. To say that, to hear about documentaries and whatever about the Holocaust is like overdone.
It's still
Genocides happen across the world daily. Okay? There's one happening not too far away from here, and we see it with our eyes all over social media, and still things aren't done. So to say that things are overdone is BS. You're not doing the work. You're being complacent, and that's what they expect. This is what is expected and wanted, for people to get so tired that they just don't do shit.
Or waiting for the other person else to do it.
Right.
And it continues and nobody else end up doing it.
And it's sad that we fall into the trap of allowing it. No, nothing is really overrated and overdone. If the story keeps being told, if the information keeps being shared, it's because not enough people have heard it. People still believe the Holocaust didn't happen.
Which is ridiculous to me, but
people believe that what's happening in Cuba is not happening. People believe that the bombs that go off just cause in places like Dubai, what's happening in Afghanistan, they believe it now that it's happening. The shit like that has been happening.
it's like women still being oppressed in other countries. How can you not believe that? Listen.
All this, have you seen those women in Afghanistan?
Oh,
it takes radios. That's Agrares for my non-Spanish speaking friends. Right? It takes a lot of strength to do that.
But according to people, it's also not happening. And I get it, guys. Listen, I know it's freaking overwhelming. You know, like me and Vanessa always say, we can't touch on every single subject because we'll be here forever. But the thing is that don't be blinded by the fact that you live in your own bubble and you could be like, oh, I don't have to touch upon it. I don't have to do anything about it. It's okay, you don't. But a little share, you use your social media now. A little share here and there goes a long way because you don't know who's reaching. You know, we have to break that freaking algorithm on Instagram, for example, who is banning and blacking out every story because they don't want us to share anything. So are we going to be part of the oppression? Are we going to be a part of that? Or are we going to try to make a change?
We feel strongly about everything that we bring up. But lately, it's been a lot. We feel you, all of you, with, okay, this is overwhelming. This is getting real deep and emotional. But the fact is that in the span of 2-3 weeks, let's say a whole month, what has happened? Greece is on fire. Things are happening in Afghanistan that unheard of. Taliban taking over. Are you kidding? Okay, Cuba, the people woke up and they're like, not today, Satan, and hit the street. Okay, and they're finally getting internet, something that has not happened in that country for over 60 years. Haiti cannot handle one more natural disaster.
No.
My sister still has family in Haiti, and it's the images that she sent us were devastating. Earthquakes all over, and you start thinking of the other things, the animals. Like if you start going into every detail, it feels debilitating. It feels so deflating. You feel so helpless that so much is going on. But the same way that we feel like, I invite you to not feel helpless, to tackle one thing at a time, because the fact is that the overwhelm happens on purpose, right? They do it on purpose so they can still get away with this kind of shit. It didn't take that many people to cause these problems in the world. It didn't take that many. It just took somebody with cojones.
Right.
That was gonna come in and say, hey, and put fear. It's not leadership. It's fear. How can I be the most evil and like let people go in? Can you imagine if the people that do good did that same thing, but with intention? Right?
Exactly.
How would they be able to fight it?
I always say that. Say, can you imagine? You know how everybody gets together for the Super Bowl, or everybody gets together for a football game, or whatever? Can you imagine if we all got together like that too? The whole world. That will be massively historical, obviously, because the whole world is getting together for a good cause.
No reason to separate ourselves from each other, or to find something. We don't have to go very far. Present day, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Yes, it's a problem. I won't get into the details of why or why not, because it's not about that. Okay,
Right.
it's about how we treat those people. all of a sudden, yes, some of them can get a little crazy and have really silly reasons why they're not doing it. But it's how we talk to one another and how we allow it to create
That, that,
this valley between us for more things like this to happen.
and that's the thing. I don't think that people understand that that's what they're trying to do, trying to separate. And I believe in that. I truly believe that they always want people against each other.
Granted, to some who might sound like we're just popping out conspiracy theorists over here.
I was just about to say.
We're here talking about like the they. Who's they?
Well, the people, No, but seriously.
But it's those that are in power. It doesn't necessarily have to be the government, because we know that the government is not the only entity in power and running things.
Right.
Whoever has that power, whoever has that ability to cause a ruckus in the world, to shake anything up in not necessarily a positive way, that's the they.
Yes. But you've heard it before. If women got together instead of tearing each other down, and you know how empowering that is to just lift other people. And I'm using people in general because it lift other people just to do it, unconditionally with nothing to gain from it. But people can't seem to do that.
There's a lot to be said for culture, don't you think?
Oh, I feel like it plays a lot as well.
There's so much in culture. Latin and Hispanic women, Latine and Hispanic women, are strong, badasses, but they fit into some sort of submissive box. What they're taught to be. You have to be strong. You have to be crack the whip at home. You have to get that. But the moment the husband, the patriarch, head down, that is very much not what I was taught. My mom is not a head down person.
No, I mean nobody should be though. I'm sorry, no matter who you are. But continue.
But then I guess that's a plus of, being raised by a single parent, right?
I mean,
You see the woman kicking all the culo. At the same time, it's like,
it's funny because you and I grew up in obviously two different households. I grew up with two parents, and that's the way it was. And I told my dad he could go fuck himself. Sorry, not happening. No, I'm sorry. That does not work in my world. I treat everybody equally with respect. I don't care about your color, your anything, your age, your sex, your gender. I don't care. Respect.
my father said to me once, by the way, about the submissive, that I had to be more that I was too loud and intense and opinionated. This was when I was getting married, that I needed to submit to my husband.
Bueno. That's the middle. And I don't understand how that sounded so right to them when they were telling you when it was coming out of their mouth. Como no entiendo.
Because what is it that we've said on so many episodes? Empieza en casa, and this is where the culture comes from, the repetition of these thoughts, these concepts, these traditions, right? And some of them are really lovely and beautiful, but this in particular, that thing, not the cutest part of a particular culture. There are other cultures. In so many African villages, the matriarch is who you defend at all costs. In the African kingdom, the queen there is respect, there's honor for that figure, what they can do, their abilities, right? It is worshipped another. The womb is a worship thing. It is from where life comes from. So they have respect. Somehow that got lost in America. It got lost in Latin America and in the Caribbean and in those cultures, because even the indigenous people of those cultures revered the women of their tribes. There's a mutual respect. You know what I'm saying?
I just feel like there is a strong, loud. What else did your father said that you were?
That is
intense women, people out there. Don't be intimidated by that.
I mean, it says a lot. My mom My mom had told me, like if a man is intimidated by you, that's not the man. And it's not because that man is a weakling. They're just looking for a different woman. That's definitely not me.
Right,
Right? And they
right.
said it even in Grey's Anatomy. Grace said to her daughter, some men are afraid of women in power. Don't go for that man. Right? But it's also because I feel like we're taught, and this is a general we, man, woman, goat. We're all taught at one way or another. Let me not overgeneralize say we're all taught. For the most part, we're taught that in order for one to succeed or to get ahead or to be the best or to be whatever, right? That means you have to knock somebody else out. Amongst women, el quítate tú para ponerme yo, like you move so that I can be in that space is even more. And it's aimed towards you've got to be the most beautiful, be the right. It's not even successful, in other
Right.
ways. You got to get that man. Don't let nobody take your man, right? The concepts, but it's always about having to be more than somebody else.
I don't know. I never understood that concept. I mean, I didn't grow up with a strong like circle of women empowering each other. So that's why I do it. I empower everybody, and you know me.
Mhm.
I am for everybody. I want everybody to succeed. If I'm able to help in any way and whatever, I'm gonna do it. Porque no me cuesta nada being nice and being honestly, genuinely happy for you to be like, oh my God, congratulations.
Lo que está para ti, nadie te lo quita. What is
Which is
meant for you cannot be taken away from you.
which is true. I also believe that.
Dude, and we're not talking about hooju juju. We're talking about if you put in the work, if you
Mhm.
showed up,
Right.
right, and you've done your part, and you are right for whatever that is, you will receive that reward, that accolade, whatever. If it's not meant for you, and there's someone else who is better for that opportunity, or could use that opportunity to better themselves in a way that you have been able to do on your own. Lo que está para ti nadie te lo quita.
Who's watching out there? Who are the strong women in your life that you, I don't know, admire? I know you admire your mom, so I don't even have to say.
Yeah, all day. Carmen Rubio Prado.
Right, you already know my sister for me.
I'm actually really lucky. Like I'm a girl's girl all day. I love men, not just love men, but like I love men, like supporting them. But I'm a girl's girl because I was surrounded by a tribe of insanely strong, powerful women who have survived a lot. Right? My aunt Bona, my aunt Annie, like these are women who were massively significant in my life, and not just my family. I have cousins galore. I have
Right.
about 30 cousins. Most of them are female, and they're all incredible women who have created themselves. My best friends are amazing, beautiful women who are strong and powerful and educated. So I can't complain. I've been
Right.
around badass women, and it's easy to want to cheer for them. And you learn that when one rises, we all rise. Because every time one of those women in my life has succeeded, either by watching them and feeling inspired and motivated to ponerme las pilas, or because they've taken me with them, I have been able to rise as well.
That's how I feel. Like should not should, but I mean not should as in like you need to, you have to, but why not? ¿Qué te
Yeah.
cuesta? And I just find that to be beautiful to just everybody let's go. But obviously the times that we live in, it's hard to do that. Um, and this is just in general with the women's equality. Like there's so many things that we still haven't gotten, still haven't passed, still are fighting for, and not just in the States, just everywhere in the world.
I mean, it is delicious to see the growing numbers. Billions of dollars in corporate America come from women owned,
Oh
women run
yeah.
businesses. Que rico.
I love I love that episode we did, the hustle episode with all the women we invited and
Yeah.
all the friends and family, just letting them, just participate and just show their work. They're awesome. I like that episode. That was nice.
Yeah. But I worked with this translation company, woman owned, woman run. It was 6 employees total, and all of us were women. And my boss started that company by herself. She did translations by herself for the most part for the first like 2 years of her business, and she translated into 5 different languages. Okay, her company now works globally, has only 6 employees, but she has translators all over the world and translates into over 200 languages.
Oh wow,
And
that's
she's a
insane.
mom, and she's, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
and all these women that I know that were moms and but they had aspirations to do more, and they do it as side gigging. They're like, okay, I'm gonna start making, okay, if it's for the kids, I'm gonna start making the stuff for my friend Sandra. She started making the pencil cases or whatever for her son and her daughter. The parents started
hmm
liking it. She made a business of it.
but that's the thing that I'm saying. Why do you need to step on one thing?
Yeah.
Says who? Go do 5,000 billion things and knock yourself out.
And to see now that women are being given opportunities like being the coaches of a male's team or being the first female coach. Why
Right.
was a man coaching a female team? Like, like I'm not against it, but also it's a different it's a different thing to be coached by someone who's been there. So
Right.
it's beautiful to see that that landscape is changing. The rhetoric, right, still exists where we hear the put downs of why
Right.
a woman cannot be successful. Uh, but to see that changing and to know that it didn't start out of osmosis, caballero. There are women who put their lives, quite literally their lives, on the line, who put their families on the line, and who just they put it all out there so that if not for themselves, for the future, it would be different. Time is a ticking, and I know you have 4 and I have 4.
Oh yeah. So we are sharing. We're gonna share 4 people. I mean, women in the
Yeah,
world that feel inspired by it.
but I
Wanna
have
share?
5.
That's fine. You wanna share one and one until we're done, or
Yeah,
you wanna share? Okay.
let's do this.
Well, the first one that I have is just Margaret Sanger. She was the founder of Planned Parenthood. She died in 1966, though. But her quote was, "No woman can call herself free who does not own and control her body. No woman can call herself free until she can choose consciously whether she will or will not be a mother." And as you already know, that hasn't changed, in the world today. If she was alive, she probably would have been like, what the hell? Now the women don't have any rights.
So my first one is Yuri Kochiyama. I just learned about this person, but I flipping loved her because I'm always talking about parallels, and this woman dedicated her entire life of advocacy because she recognized the parallels between Asian Americans and the tribulations in Black American lives. When you find your struggle in someone else's, don't leave them alone to fight. This woman was like, no. She lived in a Japanese internment camp in Kansas
Oh, wow.
because I remind us, US of A, that we kept Japanese people in internment camps. They did that shit in the Holocaust. They did shit like they do that shit in other countries that we poo poo. Okay? So don't gotta look too far. We did it here. We're doing it now, even with the, foreign nationals that are being kept in tents. And I'll say tents to not say other shit. She was so affected by those parallels that she saw that she participated in anti-war, uh, Black liberation, and Asian American movements, and she teamed up with Malcolm X and Black Power organizations. That was unheard of at the time. There is camaraderie that was found between Asian Americans and the Black American community
Mhm.
because there is such a strong parallel, and the discrimination has been so heavy for them in the US. Her husband invited the Freedom Riders, uh, over to their house for dinner. So they were and she fought to help liberate political prisoners in the U.S. Yuri Kochiyama, look her up. Phenomenal story.
Sounds interesting. I want to go read. You know
She was
me.
nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2005.
Awesome. Oh, well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she didn't win. People, men, uh, and just people in general who have done a lot less and less important have gotten the Peace Prize. I really wish this lady would have gotten it.
Oh man. Well, that goes to show. The next one I have is I'm gonna butcher her name, and I'm sorry. Malak Nassef. She was an Egyptian Muslim feminist. She learned She learned Arabic language and the appreciation for her culture at the young age. When she was 13, she became the first Egyptian woman to publish poetry in a mainstream journal at 13.
Oh, wow.
She's not playing
Makes
around.
me feel accomplished. I mean, look at this young girl who's fighting for climate change.
Oh yeah, I
She
mean,
started when she was like, 12. I feel very underaccomplished when I see things like that.
well, you already know. I mean, our times were different from now, as you already
Yeah.
know. So it's
Now,
like, you
now
know,
they're forced to be advocates out the womb because if not, their world is going to end. So my next person is, I'm also going to butcher this name because I am not French, y'all. Simone de Beauvoir. She was a French philosopher and writer, and she wrote The Second Sex in 1949, and it helped begin. It began the conversation around modern feminism. So, you know, what Gloria Steinem and all of them started afterwards was birthed by this woman. And she articulated a thoughtful attack on the idea that women belonged in passive roles and criticized the patriarchy. A woman in 1949 criticizing the patriarchy. The Vatican prohibited the sale of the book, okay? And she kept fighting, and she could care less. She helped launch the French women's liberation movement uh, and helped fight for abortion rights in France. Did a lot. So look her up, Simone de Beauvoir.
next one, her name is Katherine Johnson. She was considered a human computer, and I believe she's still alive. At the age
Wow.
of 10, you're gonna really feel unaccomplished or
Yeah.
under. At the age of 10, Katherine Johnson was a high school freshman in a world where African Americans usually stopped attending school past the 8th grade.
She was 10.
She graduated high school at 14 and from college at 18, going on to be one of the 3 Black students chosen to integrate West Virginia's graduate school. She studied mathematics at West Virginia State College and graduated with the highest honor. She went on to teach at the school until 1953 when she started to work for the National Advisory Committee for NASA.
This woman, I have, y'all, I'm gonna do it. I got 2 Cuban ladies on my on my roster today. Mariana Graham Cuello. This woman is very impressive, and I feel very identified with her because she is of Spanish descent. My grandmother and my mom's side Spanish. She is Dominican. I'm half Dominican, and she was known as the mother of Cuba. So she's Cuban. Maria Grajales Cuello was married to a Venezuelan man. And as we know, Venezuela is another country that's going through heavy shit with communism. So this woman fought for feminist rights, for female rights in Cuba. Okay, and not just that, it was in general. She fought even alongside her husband, Marcos Maceo, in the 1800s. Okay, so for all of the lovely people out there who think that slavery ended in Cuba because of Castro in the 50s and 60s, pick up a book, please. It ended in, quote unquote, ended in the 1800s, quote unquote, because we know. In the 1800s. But Mariana Grajales Cuello was a Black woman that organized other women to fight for their own rights, okay, on the island, and rallied to educate people on what other countries had been able to achieve, how they'd been able to achieve liberation from their oppressors and from their leaders. This is in the 1800s. ¿Qué clase de power tenía esa mujer? And she was known as the Mother of Cuba.
That's insane. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But you see, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, I feel like, yes, granted, they're like doing 5 billion things all at once, but it's not por puro chiste. Just there's a cost to it. There's an end, not an end result because it's still going, but you know what I mean. Like, it's for a reason. My next one is butchering their name. I am so sorry. Sarifa Jafari. She's an Afghan advocate, activist, politician, and entrepreneur. As of November 2019, she is the current mayor of Maidan Shar, capital in the city of. I'm butchering all these names, but we mean it. Out of the city of Wardak province in Afghanistan. She is one of the few Afghanistani female mayors and also the youngest to be appointed at age 26.
Oh, now.
Yeah, so she's currently right now dealing with what's happening in Afghanistan right now.
Again, from the womb, born to advocate, because if not, they know their world will end. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it takes a strong woman to have raised her to feel that strongly. Where she's like, okay, by 20 something, I'm going to be up there. And honestly, in that culture, she had to have had a man in her life also that allowed for that space to be taught that.
Oh, yeah.
Because eso no existe if
Yeah.
the father is all up in your grill.
Yeah, I'm gonna read more about her because I love the story that I did get to read for her. But to be an activist, you know, an entrepreneur by 26 to be accomplished so much. Sometimes I feel like is the drive to want a better change, a better world that makes you say, I'm not gonna play with my life. Like I'm not gonna go through shit. I'm gonna go and do it and be like,
Yeah.
I accomplished this, and I hope for the future there's a better future for everybody out there.
So you can do yours, and I'll do my other one that's a little bit longer. Frida Kahlo. You know, I had to have an artist in mind. Frida Kahlo, amazing, phenomenal artist who took it a step further and did the kind of artwork that didn't exist. She was openly bisexual and not afraid to express her sexuality, her femininity, her masculinity, and she showed it in her artwork. And she talked about abortion, she talked about miscarriage, she talked about female pain in a way that most society tried to shut up. And you know, she had interesting political views, but she was a woman who stood up for what she believed in, and she was loud and didn't give a shit and got in a lot of trouble half the time.
That's why she was a controversy when she started in her time, yeah. And
She's
still
one of my
to this
favorite.
day.
And that's why.
Yeah. Well, my last one, everybody knows who she is, Malala.
One of her quotes.
Love her. As whoever don't know, she became the international symbol of the fight for girls' education after she was shot in 2012 for opposing the Taliban restrictions on female education in her home country of Pakistan. In 2009, Malala had begun writing a blog under her pseudonym about the increasing military activity in her hometown and about fears that her school will be attacked. After her identity was revealed, Malala and her father continued to speak up for the right of education. And she did win the Nobel Peace Prize, I believe. She did.
Mm-hmm.
And I love her story, and you know me, education, reading is essential. I love reading, I love books, I love education, I love learning. So the fact that she, at that young age, I think she was what, 15, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. when
Yeah.
she just got
She was a
shot.
baby.
She she had to. She did it, and here she is. I am done with
And
mine.
my last one is Rosa Maria Paya,
Mm.
um, which is a Cuban activist, daughter of Oswaldo Paya, who died in an accident in a car. When the reality is that he was murdered by the Cuban government. And she took over, and he is the one who created the Yell for Liberty. He started doing that. Um, After her father's death, she kept the flame going, the torch going. In 2013, she spoke at the United Nations about the Cuban government's oppression over its people and what was happening in Cuba. And she's still doing that to this day. As a matter of fact, there was just a huge march uh, at the Freedom Tower, it's Ermita de la Caridad, on yesterday,
Mm.
and she spoke there. She led it, and she just recently talked at Congress. Um, Man, she does her bit, and she's a human rights activist. She's not a politician. She's not out there doing that. All they've ever fought for is human rights. So, Rosa Maria Paya, Paya.
Amazing, amazing women we just spoke about. But I look at these activists, and I'm over here like, we are doing. I feel like, yeah, we're doing the right thing. I mean, whether people like it or not my problem. I just want to spread the information. It does feel good when you do share and you're like, okay.
You're not really alone. People have been doing it, right? It feels good. But more than that, it's also like everybody has their way of approaching it. There have been women that have been more like volatile, but a lot of the women that we've mentioned are women that, whether in a school or through life or through their own volition, have educated themselves, right? Have read, have conversed with other people that know. They didn't by osmosis, like they made it a point to find out so that they could speak um, with true facts and information and towards a solution versus just talking about the problem. So
Right.
every woman that we've mentioned expressed themselves in a way that was controversial because it was coming from a woman and because of the time and because of whatever it was talking about. But they were also, they had wit, they had charm, right? They were well loved by a lot of people. So they knew how to work a room, right? And I feel like this is where there are those privileges, right? We talked about privilege so many times, where there is that privilege to being that nurturing, that, right, that of having that air about you as a woman. You know what I mean? And when it gets down to the nitty gritty, that you are able to take these emotional gut punches because we may be emotional beings, but women hold a lot of hurt, not just our own, of our families, of our children, of our this, of our that. So these women are inspiring for so many reasons.
I know it's been a long time, but I do have a Chubby's Book Corner. So I do have one amazing book that I found and I started reading and I was like, yes. Here's my new layout.
I love it. Chubby's Book Corner.
So the book is called Young Women of Color on Today's Feminism. Colonize This. Look at this beautiful cover.
Yes, I love the
Okay.
cover.
It's filled with essays by women of color, their life experience in dealing with femininity. You do get a clear understanding from their perspective, about what it's like to being a black woman, a trans, a Latina, femme, a lesbian, because those things are always stigmas, or like, and Muslim, and so much more. It was edited by Daisy Hernandez and Bushra Rahman. I'm sorry for butchering your name, but I tried. This is the second edition, but this book has so many stories, and I thought that it was a great share. So you guys need to go check it out. Here we go. Look at it again. Look how pretty that is. Young woman of color and today's feminism. Colonize this. But that's all I have for Chubby's Book Corner today.
Chubby's Book Corner.
Quote quotes for us today.
I have a couple of quotes. I'll just say 3 of them. We can post the other ones.
Brian, if you're still watching, thank you so much.
I'll just drop that little nugget.
Here we go. I'm never going to get tired of that.
I love it. It's from Malala herself. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. Malala. You know, she's talking about women, but that applies to so many things. And we know that she's an activist for so much more than just female rights. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. Emma Watson. And Emma Watson is a very vocal feminist and writes for female equality and equity. This I loved. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is a man. Gender equality. This is on gender equality. Freedom cannot be achieved unless women have emancipated from all forms of oppression. Nelson Mandela. I think we've said it before, like sometimes it takes, you know, when people were saying, oh, if you're not Cuban, don't talk on Cuba. Don't talk stupidly on Cuba. But like if you know, and if you're truly a supporter and have educated, please do talk. Because we need the people from the other side that are not the Cubans.
Right.
Showing their support. Because their people will listen. Right? The same way that every movement has needed someone from the other side. The LGBTQ plus community has needed cisgender men and women from, you know, that are heterosexual to help, right? To be allies. We've needed Caucasians to be allies to Black women. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody's got to put in their efforts. It's not one person's problem.
I do have one that I like that I share on our Instagram. Can I share this one?
Yes, please do.
The humanity of all Americans is diminished when any group is denied rights granted to others. Julian Bond.
On that same note, this definitely will be my last one because I also love the picture. Whenever one person stands up and says, wait a minute, this is wrong, it helps other people to do the same. Gloria Steinem.
That is so true.
So we'll be posting those quote quotes. Final thoughts?
If you don't understand something, read up on it. Learn it. It is, but it's true. I say it all the time, but it's true. If you don't understand something, if you're curious about something, if you want to help in some way, but you don't know how to, begin with a Google search, apparently. But obviously don't believe everything you read, but, you know, do your research. But, you know, like Vanessa said, this is our permanent new hashtag. We're not an island. You know, this is that we're not an island. You know, we are connected in some way. Like there is a domino effect. It will always happen. Domino effect. If you're able to lift everybody up, lift everybody up. If you're not able to, then it's okay. Don't feel bad about it.
But don't talk about
that. Exactly. That's it. Just be kind, be compassionate, love each other. We only have one world, so take care of it.
Yeah. Final thoughts on my end. Yes, reading is essential, all of the things. Part of our history is knowing who makes it up, not just who we see plastered on the front of the book. There's people inside that book. And I'm being super like vague, but I mean, like, look for the names that you don't see in the headlines. Right? Every individual counts and their story is immensely inspirational, and it may resonate with you a lot more and give you that motivation or that inspiration in learning about the 4 women or 5 because I cheated the forum that I had to research when I found Yuri, when I learned more about, Mariana Graham, which is of my own culture, and I didn't even know she existed till maybe a month ago, right? These are important things. And today, specifically, that we're talking about women's equality, it feels amazing to see how many women have paved the way for so many women today to be able to do what we do, and to be able to potentially fight for more things to change and be awarded to us. And it's hopeful because we're already seeing this shift. We're already seeing women step into that power, and it can't stop. Right? The cycle of change doesn't stop once it already has happened. Maintenance.
I just want to say a quick shout out to 3 people that has slowly changed my life in the past year and a half or 2, whatever. Jody Yellowfish, I can't get over that. And the 2 recent one that I'm over here, like I can't. Fangirling will be the correct term.
I think that's what you're gonna say.
Victoria Koyave is her last name.
Victoria Koyalo and Vanessa
Garcia. I cannot with these humans. Thank you so much for all that you do. I just want to say thank you. You inspire me every day, and every time I see your hard work and your tears and your sweat, literally, it's like it gives me hope that we could have a better future for our nieces, kids, whoever, So yes.
There's another person in that same group, because they shared their thoughts in such an interesting way. Berta Leal, also. Berta Leal, good stuff. I'm very proud to know them. Very proud to be able to call them my friends.
I'm slightly
history. It's history.
Slightly jealous. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Association. We should have it. We're gonna have them on the show. Done.
We are.
They come on the show.
I just have to compose myself. I can't. But yes.
They're my friends and I fangirl. Okay. So understandable.
I hope you all learned something, or you all took something away that's gonna make you ponder for the rest of the night and not be able to sleep. But
we'll be posting the name of the women that we talked about today. Look them up further if any of that touched you. And also, if you wanted to share a woman, please send us names of women that we should know about that made an impact in the world, even if it's in your world. It's your grandmama. I want to hear about your grandma's story.
Yes, anybody. Your sister, your cousin, your female cat. I don't know, anybody. It's fine. Hey, animals are wonderful.
They are.
But have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Go check out our website and the merch.
Yes, thank you, Yanni's design again.
Thank you so much. We love it. Order your t-shirts, stickers are out there, and we'll see you guys next Monday.
Yes, stay fearless, everyone.